I'm now introducing the speculative designer and researcher Lisa Ma. Lisa Ma believes in socializing activism rather than idealizing perfect futures, creating farmification with workers of joystick factories in Shenzhen, spa experiences at cat ladies' homes in London, and political movements with vegetarians to eat instead of poison invasive animals in Belgium. Lisa Ma wants to make activism iterative, innovative, and reflective, like a design process. For her participation at this year's Extinction Marathon, Ma also has a presence in our digital platform Extinctly through a project titled How to Be a Bio-Luddite. This work is about empowering people to make informed decisions on questions such as antibiotic resistance, the nostalgic and synthetic nature of the rural landscape, the industrialization of the organic ethos, over-specialization and monoculture, the footprint of meat and other foodstuff. For her talk today, Ma will discuss a series of dilemmas. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Ma. Thank you.
Hello. I'm called a speculative designer, but my job is actually to create dilemmas. So I get people to come on this journey by asking questions around contradictions. What I really want to know is, how can design move people from a stage of passivism towards a stage of increasing activism? What that really means is, okay, so how can activism that we see it now adopt this very sort of early stage design school thing that goes iterative process? Well, how can activism use iterative process to explore dilemmas rather than this kind of one emotionally tracked mob that we're seeing nowadays? Let's look at two dilemmas. In China, birds are killed when we stop eating them. So get this, I was in the Center of Disease Control in the 2013 bird flu crisis, and I was researching about how they monitor the public fear in cities that were miles away from where the bird flu was happening, because these cities were terrified by the bird flu, but they were really terrified by the spread of the news, not the spread of the virus itself. And soon, there wasn't a foreseeable market for poultry. And if you're a farmer, you can't really afford to keep these stocks of chicken that was costing you thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a day to feed. So these animals are mass incinerated in the billions, chicks and all. And an unexpected effect on the shuttlecocks industry, which is, this very cheap animal byproduct, right? The feather suddenly became a rare commodity, and the national sport was endangered. These dilemmas are even more jarring when we're talking about invasive species. In the idealized island of Galapagos, animals that compete with the famous giant tortoise are eliminated. So if you go online, I'll spare you the gruesome details, but you can literally see helicopters taking around snipers to shoot down goats, invasive goats. And the human islanders, they protest. So if you're a local, you're prevented from fishing, you're restricted from farming, and the promise of money from tourism isn't so easy when it's taken over by these grand ecological cruise tours. And this is all backed by a lot of these destinations have to be accompanied by non-local ecologists. So the islanders have violent protests, kidnapping conservationists, sometimes actually getting these giant tortoises and slitting their throats. And then what's really amazing is they also painstakingly get goats back onto the island just to re-release them as a form of protest. So moving people from states of passivism towards a stage of increasing activism really needs dilemmas to keep these sensations in check. So we've come a long way from the traditional ways of protests and rioting. But the activism we know is still too loud. With technology, it's too easy to gain that high visibility, but it's a bit cliched. We kind of already know what to expect of it before it's happened. And it's noisy. It desensitizes and drowns out all the other voices. So I work on making opportunities to create activism that allows us maybe to be a bit more passive, compassionate, to allow it to be deeper and sensitize us, and to allow more diverse voices to be included. So I'm constantly looking for alternative ways of engaging beyond this eye-rolling trend of clicktivism and slacktivism, or more directly put, as armchair activism. To explore this, I worked with vegetarians in Belgium. The question of that film was, what if your tax money is killing animals? And I placed this question to a town known as the vegetarian capital of Europe, in Ghent in Belgium, where every Thursday shops and restaurants would replace their meat menus for vegetarian and animal-friendly alternatives. Being a vegetarian here is a status symbol of active citizenship. And I presented an animal-unfriendly problem, the invasive Canada goose. So imagine these huge birds as flocks of multiplying bulldozers, and what they're literally doing is pushing the soil into Ghent's canals and literally blocking the drains of a city already below the sea level. These geese had to go. But in this politically vegetarian town, there's a secretive government program to solve that. Every year, thousands of invasive geese are killed. They're caught by man-force, individually injected with a poisoned syringe, and then hauled back to be incinerated at huge public costs. So I stayed in the city, building communities between scientists, chefs, ecologists, politicians, and the local vegetarians, with an aim to explore this clash of values between the killing of animals for our city and the killing of animals for our food. So this is one of my team collecting goose eggs that were otherwise thrown into the water for vegetarian food. So there's this local practice of spotting invasive goose nests. And when they spot them, they would throw the eggs literally all into the water. And the last one, they would keep it and they would shake it. So that would kill the egg, and they put it back in the nest. And that way, the goose would keep on laying on it, you know, on this dead egg, trying to hatch it. And eventually, after weeks and weeks, it would be completely depleted of resource, and it wouldn't be able to lay more eggs, so that nest is done for the year. And that's their way of depopulation. So in invasive, designing around a dilemma about how we feel and act towards animals is resurfacing a clash of values between what we do and what we believe in. Vegetarianism was a form of activism, but what now when it's become assimilated? So I propose that we consume invasive species to control rather than leaving the responsibility to governments that poison. In a town that takes pride in the values of animal friendliness, putting the goose on the table is a tool to explore new forms of activism. So a year on, my little community of consuming invasive animals has grown into an urban movement of startups, a reality TV show by the national TV station Canvas, and where Flanders policymakers are taking lessons from local foragers, and established scientists are having to defend why they were demonizing invasive species in the first place. To celebrate this, I got to feed the mayor of Ghent an invasive goose leg.
Environmental taxes, and he's giving it permission through his one bite.
And you say that we can eat them?
I say that you can eat them.
Well, I think it's a very good idea, because it's almost the same that we are doing in the city of Ghent. But we always say that it's not enough to be a smart city. Your citizens have to know what you are doing in the city. So the citizens has to be taking part of everything that's happened in the city. I'm going to taste it. You promise me I don't want to get sick.
Yes, I promise. It looks quite gruesome because I cooked it, but it's much better.
Mm-hmm. It's not bad, eh? Not bad at all. I don't know how to catch a goose, but we can organize it. Why not?
Oh, what's going on? So I believed it to actually be a platform of a productive sort of activism. And you can kind of imagine my shock when I realized last month that my vegetarians had started plans with a major supermarket chain to sell these geese actually to a supermarket. It's gone the whole circle. Activism needs dilemmas. Equilibriums don't last forever, and the most obvious guttural feelings have to be questioned over and over again to reassess its relevance. This project is a real-life case study of how even the most aspirational of political communities have a need to further challenge a status quo, even when it's become the pride of their own city. Thank you.